We've all been hurt by people. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not. But one thing is for sure, the way we respond makes all the difference. You can't always control what others do, but you can control how you handle it. Today, I'll share 5 ways to handle people who hurt you so you can protect your peace and move forward with strength. When someone hurts you, your body reacts before your brain has even had time to process what's happening. Your chest tightens, your heart rate picks up, and your mind starts racing with things you want to say, or worse, things you want to do. That reaction is perfectly human. It's your body's defense system ready to fight back to protect you from the sting of that hurt. But here's the thing, those first few seconds after being hurt are usually the most dangerous ones. That's where mistakes are made. That's where words slip out that you wish you could take back, or actions happen that leave you feeling worse than before. That's why the pause matters so much. Pausing doesn't mean you're weak, and it doesn't mean you're letting the other person off the hook. It means you're giving yourself space to get back into control. Think of it like this: if someone spills hot coffee on your hand, your instinct is to yank it away, maybe even throw the cup. But if you can hold still for just a second, you'll react with intention instead of panic. The same thing happens emotionally. The pause is your shield. It buys you time to shift from a reaction to a response. When you pause, you give yourself the gift of perspective. You can ask, why did this hurt me so much? Was it their words, or the meaning I attached to them? Was it the action itself, or the fact that it came from someone I trusted? That tiny bit of reflection can completely change the way you respond. Because sometimes you'll realize the other person didn't even mean harm. Other times, you'll realize they did, and now you can decide if they deserve a response at all. That pause also protects your relationships. Words spoken in anger have a way of living much longer than the moment they were born in. A heated retort might feel satisfying in the moment, but later, when the emotion has cooled, you're often left cleaning up damage you never wanted to create. Taking a pause lowers the temperature. It lets you speak from clarity, not chaos. Here's the truth: the pause isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about protecting your peace. It's about not letting someone else's behavior dictate your behavior. Because the moment you lash out without thinking, you hand them control, you let their hurtful action decide your next move. But when you pause, you take that control back. You say, I'll decide what happens next, not you. It doesn't always come naturally. It takes practice. You'll fail sometimes, and that's okay. But the more you practice pausing, whether it's taking a deep breath, counting to 5, or even walking out of the room, the stronger you get at handling hurt in a way that honors yourself. And over time, that simple habit of pausing becomes one of the most powerful tools you carry into every relationship, every conflict, every moment of pain. Because the pause isn't just silence, it's strength. When someone hurts you, the natural question that follows is, what do I allow from this point on? That's where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not walls to keep everyone out. They're doors with locks that you control. They're your way of saying, this is how I expect to be treated, and this is what I will not accept. Too often, people misunderstand boundaries as cold or harsh, but in reality, They're one of the most loving things you can put in place for yourself and for others. Without them, you end up absorbing other people's behavior, carrying pain that doesn't belong to you, and silently resenting situations you never spoke up about. Setting boundaries is not about punishing the person who hurt you. It's about teaching them what respect looks like in your life. Think about it, Ty. When a child runs into the street, a parent doesn't let them keep running just to avoid conflict. They set a boundary because safety matters. Emotional safety works the same way. If someone continues to speak to you disrespectfully, to cross lines you've made clear, or to take advantage of your kindness, and you never set a boundary, they'll assume it's acceptable. Boundaries communicate that your peace, your time, and your energy are valuable. The tricky part is boundaries often make people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from you not having them. Someone who's used to you always saying yes won't like it when you finally say no. Someone who's used to raising their voice may resist when you no longer stay in the conversation after they cross that line. And that resistance can make you question yourself. But remember, someone being upset at your boundary doesn't mean you're wrong for having it. It just means the boundary is working. The strength of a boundary comes not from announcing it once, but from consistently holding it. You can't say, "Don't talk to me that way," and then continue engaging when they do. You have to follow through. Sometimes that means walking away. Sometimes that means limiting access to you. Sometimes that means cutting ties altogether. Boundaries without follow through are just suggestions, and people who hurt you rarely change when all they're facing is a suggestion. Boundaries also give you freedom. They free you from constantly overthinking how to handle someone. Once you've set the line, your decisions become clear. If they respect it, you can rebuild trust. If they don't, you know it's time to create distance. It removes the guessing game and puts the responsibility where it belongs on their actions. And perhaps most importantly, boundaries remind you of your worth. When you say, "This is not acceptable," what you're really saying is, "I deserve better." And that belief, spoken out loud and backed up by action, begins to change the way you see yourself. You stop tolerating what tears you down, and you start protecting what builds you up. In the end, setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-respect. And when someone hurts you, boundaries are the way you make sure it doesn't keep happening again and again. They don't just protect you from others. They teach others how to truly value you. When people hurt you, there's a moment afterward where you have to decide what happens next. You can either let it slide, hold it in, or make it clear where the line is. That's what boundaries are about. They are not about revenge, not about shutting people out of your life. They are about creating a clear understanding of how you expect to be treated. Without them, hurt turns into patterns, and patterns, over time, shape the way people think they can treat you. Boundaries are not meant to be shouted or forced. They work best when they're calm, consistent, and firm. Imagine your personal space like a house. If you never lock your doors, people might wander in and out, taking what they want, leaving what they don't. Some of them may not mean harm, but others will. A boundary is like closing that door and saying, "You can visit, but only on these terms. You can come close, but only if you respect the space." It's a sign of self-respect not hostility. One of the reasons people avoid setting boundaries is the fear of conflict. Maybe you think, if I say no, they'll be upset. If I speak up, it'll cause drama. But here's the truth. The absence of boundaries doesn't remove conflict. It just buries it. The tension doesn't go away. It lives inside you as resentment, frustration, and disappointment. And over time, that unspoken resentment often does more damage to relationships than the honest boundary ever could. It's also important to understand that people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries. They might not love them in the moment, but they will adapt. People who consistently ignore or push against your boundaries are showing you something valuable. They care more about their comfort than your well-being. That's not love, and it's not respect. And once you see it clearly, you gain the power to choose how much access that person should have to your life. Boundaries can sound simple, but practicing them takes strength. Saying, I won't continue this conversation if you raise your voice, and then actually walking away when it happens requires courage. Saying, I can't take on this responsibility for you, and staying firm when guilt is used against you takes discipline. But every time you honor your boundary, you reinforce to yourself that your peace matters. And here's the unexpected gift. Boundaries don't just protect you, they also improve the quality of your relationships. They create clarity. People no longer have to guess where you stand, and you no longer have to silently tolerate what hurts you. It strips away the confusion and leaves room for honesty. Setting boundaries after being hurt isn't about holding on to bitterness. It's about preventing future wounds. It's a way of saying, I value myself enough not to let this repeat. And that choice, made consistently, shifts the balance of power. Instead of being at the mercy of how people treat you, you take ownership of what you allow. And that shift doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. When someone hurts you, your instinct is often to let them know right away, and usually that comes out with heat. Raised voice, sharp words, maybe even a little sarcasm to make sure they feel the sting you felt. It's a natural reaction because hurt often disguises itself as anger. But here's the catch: when you communicate with fire, the other person usually stops listening. They shift from hearing your pain to defending themselves. And in that moment, the original message is lost. That's why calm communication matters so much. Communicating calmly doesn't mean you're pretending the hurt didn't happen. It doesn't mean you're minimizing your feelings or excusing the behavior. It means you're choosing to express the truth in a way that can actually be received. There's a big difference between saying, you always treat me terribly, you never listen, you don't care about me, versus saying, what you said hurt me, and I need you to understand why. The first one puts the other person on trial. The second one opens the door to understanding. One sparks defense, the other invites change. Speaking calmly also protects your own energy. Anger burns fast. It drains you. It shakes you. It makes your heart race. But when you slow down and choose your words carefully, you stay in control. You're not handing the other person the power to steer the conversation. You're not letting them pull you into a shouting match that goes nowhere. Instead, you're anchoring yourself, showing that your feelings are valid without letting them consume you. Calm communication often works best when it's direct and simple. You don't need long speeches. You don't need to over-explain. Something as short as, "That comment crossed a line with me," can be more powerful than a 10-minute rant. It's clear, it's firm, and it leaves no room for confusion. And when you deliver it without hostility, it forces the other person to face the impact of their actions without getting distracted by your tone. Of course, calm doesn't always come easily. Sometimes you have to pause before you speak. Sometimes you have to step away for a few hours or even a few days until you can approach the conversation without your emotions boiling over. That's not avoidance, that's wisdom. It's better to wait and express yourself clearly than to explode in the moment and regret your words later. The beauty of calm communication is that it shifts the focus. Instead of the conversation becoming about your reaction, it stays about their action. If you scream, the headline becomes, "Why are you yelling?" If you stay calm, the headline stays where it belongs. "Why did you do this, and how do we fix it?" That difference changes everything. At the end of the day, calm communication doesn't guarantee the other person will apologize or even change, but it does guarantee that you spoke your truth in a way that honored yourself. And that's something no one can take away from you, because when your words come from a place of clarity instead of chaos, they carry more weight. And even if the other person doesn't respect them, you can. When someone hurts you, the temptation to react instantly is strong. Your mind races with comebacks, your chest fills with anger, and before you know it, you want to match their energy. But here's the truth: not every action deserves a reaction. The way you respond, if you respond at all, is a choice. And the power of that choice can completely change the outcome of the situation. Think about it. If someone insults you, you could snap back and throw your own insult. For a moment, it might feel good. It scratches that itch of payback. But usually, it doesn't solve anything. It just escalates, it creates a bigger wound, and now you're carrying regret on top of the hurt you already had. On the other hand, if you choose to respond with calmness or even silence, you shift the entire dynamic. You take away the fuel they were hoping to ignite. You don't give them the satisfaction of dragging you into their storm. That's strength, not weakness. Choosing your response also means recognizing that not everything needs your energy. Some comments are just bait, designed to get a rise out of you. Some people thrive on conflict. If you take every jab personally, you'll spend your life exhausted. But when you decide, "This one isn't worth my time," you're not ignoring the hurt. You're protecting your peace. You're saying, "I don't have to wrestle in every fight that's offered to me." Sometimes the best response is no response. Silence can be louder than words. It forces the other person to sit with what they've done instead of distracting themselves by focusing on your reaction. Other times, the right response is a calm explanation of how their actions affected you. And occasionally, the response is distance, choosing to step back from the relationship entirely. All of these are valid, but the key is that you get to choose which one fits the moment. This choice doesn't just affect the relationship, it affects you. Every time you choose your response, instead of letting your emotions choose for you, you reinforce your own self-control. You teach yourself that you are not at the mercy of someone else's behavior. They can throw the insult, they can cross the line, but they don't get to dictate how you carry yourself. That kind of self-control builds confidence, and that confidence changes the way people interact with you. It's not easy. Sometimes you'll slip and you'll react in ways you wish you hadn't. But the more you practice pausing, thinking, and then responding with intention, the stronger that muscle gets. And soon, it becomes second nature. You stop letting other people pull the strings, and you start writing the script of your own reactions. At the end of the day, hurt is unavoidable. People will disappoint you, they will cross boundaries, they will say things they shouldn't. But the way you respond, that's where your power lies. And the moment you realize that, you stop giving control to the person who hurt you, and you start taking it back for yourself. When someone hurts you, one of the most important things you can do afterward is protect your peace. Your peace is your mental space, your emotional balance, your sense of safety inside yourself. And once it's disturbed, you feel it everywhere, in your sleep, in your thoughts, in the way you interact with others. That's why protecting it is not optional, it's essential. Because if you don't, the hurt doesn't just stay in the moment. It follows you. Protecting your peace doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It doesn't mean you're weak or that you're avoiding reality. It means you're making a conscious decision about what you allow to live in your mind and your heart. Not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person is worth chasing for closure. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, breathe, and decide that your peace matters more than proving a point. For some people, protecting your peace looks like distance. That might mean limiting how much time you spend around the person who hurt you, or in some cases, cutting ties completely. It's not about hating them or wishing them harm. It's about recognizing that staying close costs you too much. Peace has a price, and sometimes that price is letting go of what keeps disturbing it. For others, protecting peace means setting internal boundaries. It's learning not to replay the hurt over and over in your head. It's refusing to let their words define you. It's reminding yourself, what they did is a reflection of them, not of me. Because if you carry their actions like a backpack, heavy and constant, you're giving them free rent in your mind. Protecting your peace is choosing not to carry what isn't yours to carry. There's also another layer to this. Peace isn't just about avoiding hurt, it's about creating environments that heal you. It's about filling your space with people who uplift you, habits that calm you, and thoughts that restore you. Protecting peace isn't passive, it's active. It means intentionally feeding your life with things that bring you back to center instead of dragging you further into chaos. And here's the truth. Protecting your peace will sometimes be misunderstood. People may call you distant, cold, or even selfish when you start prioritizing yourself. But that's only because they were comfortable with you sacrificing your peace for their comfort. Once you realize your well-being comes first, you stop apologizing for doing what's best for you. Because no one else is responsible for your peace but you. At the end of the day, protecting your peace is not about being unkind. It's about choosing not to bleed from wounds that could have been avoided. It's about stepping out of cycles of drama and hurt. It's about saying, I can't control what they did, but I can control what I allow to stay with me. And when you make that choice over and over again, you'll find that peace isn't something people can take away. It's something you guard fiercely and unapologetically. When someone hurts you, the first feeling that rises is usually pain. It's heavy, it's sharp, and it lingers far longer than you'd like. Most people stop there. They carry the pain, replay the moment, let it sit like a weight on their chest. But there's another way to handle it. Instead of letting the pain break you, you can choose to let it build you. That's the shift, turning pain into growth. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the cracks of disappointment, betrayal, and hurt. Those moments force you to look at yourself and your life in ways you wouldn't if everything stayed smooth. When someone disrespects you, you learn what you will no longer tolerate. When someone betrays you, you learn the value of trust and how carefully it should be given. When someone dismisses your worth, you learn to stop seeking validation outside yourself. Every painful experience holds a lesson, but you only discover it if you look for it. Turning pain into growth isn't about denying what happened. It's not pretending it didn't hurt or brushing it aside as if it meant nothing. It's about acknowledging the wound, sitting with it long enough to understand it, and then asking, what can I take from this that makes me stronger, wiser, better? That question changes everything. Instead of the pain being a dead end, it becomes a doorway. Sometimes growth looks like self-awareness. You start to recognize patterns, why you've allowed certain people too close, why you've stayed in situations that drained you. Pain has a way of pointing out blind spots that comfort never reveals. Other times, growth looks like resilience. You realize you can survive things you thought might break you. And the next time life knocks you down, you don't crumble as easily. You've built muscle from the last time you had to rise. It's also important to know that growth doesn't always show immediately. Sometimes the lesson hides behind layers of anger and sadness. It might take weeks, months, even years before you can look back and say, that hurt me, but it also shaped me. The process isn't quick, but it's real. Healing and growth often happen quietly, in small choices, in the way you handle the next challenge differently than the one before. And here's the most powerful part. When you turn your pain into growth, you take back the control. The person who hurt you no longer owns that story. Instead of their actions defining you, your response defines you. You stop being just a victim of what happened, and you become the author of what comes after. That shift changes how you carry yourself, and eventually, it changes the way others see you too. Pain is inevitable. Everyone experiences it in some form, but growth, that's optional. It's a decision you make to let the hurt harden you or to let it teach you. And when you choose growth, every wound becomes more than just a scar. It becomes proof that you've lived, learned, and risen stronger than before. At the end of the day, people will hurt you. Sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's careless, but either way, it leaves a mark. You can't control what they do, but you can control what you do next. Pause before reacting. Set clear boundaries. Communicate calmly. Choose your response wisely. Protect your peace. And take that pain, as heavy as it feels, and turn it into growth. Because handling hurt isn't about proving yourself to anyone else. It's about proving to yourself that you are stronger than the moment, stronger than the wound, stronger than the words that were spoken against you. Every choice you make in those moments is a chance to honor yourself, to rise above, and to walk away with more wisdom than you had before. So don't let the hurt define you. Let it refine you. And remember, your peace, your power, and your growth will always speak louder than the people who tried to break you.